Welcome to the Real Lost Boss podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 31 of the Real Lost Boss podcast. Today we are going to talk about positivity. Choose positivity over negativity. I made a lot of changes in the last 10 years, or I have made a lot of changes in the last 10 years when it comes to my lifestyle. And you know, the cliche saying that weight loss is about changing lifestyle is absolutely true. You have to change what has led you to becoming overweight in the first place. And, you know, those changes aren't just physical changes. So, yeah, when I look back and the things that I do now, 10 years on since I started my weight loss journey, more movement, you know, increase my everyday steps, do some regular exercise, tracking my calories, improving my overall diet, eating healthier, more fruits, more veggies, more lean proteins. All these things are physical changes that allows me to control my calories more, that allows me to burn more calories, allows me to feel better about myself, improve my mental health, improve my physical health. And all these things are, a lifestyle change. But not everything I've changed in the last 10 years is physical. Something I changed that is probably one of the biggest contributing factors to me having a successful weight loss journey. And this has become even more apparent the more social media I do, the deeper I go into my journey of online weight loss coaching. By the way, if you would like help with your weight loss, direct help with your weight loss from me, you don't need to struggle. You really, really don't. It's what I do. I'm an online weight loss coach. I will put in the description of this podcast all the details. You can come on to my one-to-one plan and get direct help from me, direct weight loss coaching. You can just join my community. And by joining my community, it will kind of show you exactly what I mean about this podcast, because it is an absolutely fantastic, positive place to be when it comes to weight loss. Anyway, all the details will be in the description of this podcast. So, what else did I change? I changed my mentality. I changed from being a negative Nelly to being a positive Pete. I don't know where those names came from, but anyway, I decided to eliminate as best as I could negativity out of my life. And yeah, as I say, as I've got deeper into this online weight loss coaching journey, you know, I've been doing sort of social media as the Real Lost Boss for over 3 years now. It's just made me realize how negative we are and how that negativity will massively drag us down. And if we live in this constant state of negativity, you are very, very, very rarely going to have a successful weight loss journey. Why are we so negative? Well, I'll be honest with you. Again, since I've kind of had this turn in my own mindset, you get to realize how negative the whole world is. You know, everything that is negative seems to get a lot more attention than something that is positive. You log on to the news and it is just, negative, negative, negative. And is it a case of the world is just filled with negativity? No, there's lots and lots of positivity out there if you go and find it. Why does the news choose to, focus on the negative aspects of the world and life? Because it gets more views. It's the same with social media. You know, a lot of accounts that are very controversial, very biased towards one thing, kind of shouting and swearing and aggression. it seems to get way more attention than people that, yeah, spread a bit of positivity. So it is kind of the way of the world. And in terms of weight loss, it's probably one of the most negative environments you could actually be involved in a way. But it doesn't need to be like that. You can change that. There's only one person that can change your mindset, and that genuinely is you. So in terms of weight loss, why are we so negative around it? Well, there's a few different reasons. And I get it, honestly, because I lived like this for years and years and years in this negative state of mind. And why we're so negative about weight loss? Well, I suppose one massive contributing factor is if you're going to attempt to achieve something and you fail over and over again, that is going to chip away at, yeah, the positivity. I get that. And the thing with weight loss is, there'll be some of you now listening stroke watching this podcast that's tried to lose weight for years and years and years and years. And a very common trend of weight loss, and I might do another podcast on this actually, so I can go into a bit more detail, but I guarantee there is a large, percentage of you guys watching this podcast now that feel like you've been, dieting, trying to lose weight for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, yet you sit here now, or hopefully you might be getting some steps in while listening to this podcast, mooching about a little bit, but you're currently heavier than the first time you ever started dieting. That's certainly the case for me. I didn't really weigh myself that much throughout my life because I was a bit heavy too. But I remember weighing myself, I would be around about 21, and I think I was sort of late 20 stone marker, so maybe about 28 stone. When I started my weight loss journey, I was 37 stone. And from being 21 to starting my kind of the last weight loss journey, I started in 2014, so I was 33 years of age. So over 12 years, I felt like over those 12 years, I constantly dieted, though I was 9 stone heavier. And I didn't constantly diet at all. Obviously, I constantly or continuously or consistently ate more calories than I should have been doing, hence why I gained 9 stone, like over 120 pounds. But, I probably dieted for a couple of months and then didn't do anything for 6 months, but I constantly thought about weight loss. So you do feel like you are permanently on this journey. And when I say I constantly thought about weight loss, I'm constantly unhappy about the size I was. And yeah, constantly thinking about what it'd be like to be lighter, to be healthier. And then you attempt these journeys and it all kind of gets wrapped up. But yeah, I failed. I was first put on a diet in 1989, sent to a dietitian, given this crazy restrictive diet. And yeah, I suppose from that point, I was constantly thinking about weight loss and dieting throughout my entire life, yet I ended up heavier. So the more we try and achieve something and the more we fail, our confidence gets knocked, and that obviously is going to, affect our positivity, and is going to make us a lot more negative around weight loss. Also with weight loss, there's a massive lack of education. A massive lack of education around weight loss. The ways we've tried to lose weight over the years is mainly fad diets, doing these crazy, weird and wonderful fad diets. And obviously a lot of fad diets are a lot weirder than others, or a lot more crazy than others. In the grand scheme of things, when we look at fad diets as a whole, the most popular weight loss method in the UK, Slimming World, isn't actually that crazy. I'm not saying it's good. It's not by any means, but it's not actually that crazy. No one that does Slimming World should end up being malnourished. You're going to end up with a really unhealthy relationship with food, and you are going to end up feeling way too restrictive, especially with foods that are probably a bit more calorie dense. But overall, it's not too severe. Whereas, you've got like Michael Mosley's 800 fast or whatever it's called, where you're eating 800 calories a day. That is brutal. Absolutely brutal. You've obviously got things like the ketogenic diet, intermittent fasting, obviously the carnivore diet, which is basically like the ketogenic diet on steroids at the moment, which seems to be extremely popular. You've then got all your sort of shake diets like your Slim Fasts and your Herbalife and your Juice Pluses, if anyone's tried any of those badges. And one common trend, I mean, there's lots of common trends between all fad diets, but certainly in terms of none of them have any education around weight loss. You know, if I went to a Slimming World meeting this week and I sat down with Barbara and I said, "Hey, Babs, right, come on, tell me about weight loss." So you're the consultant for Slimming World. You're running this group. I understand the Slimming World regime. I understand how it works, and you know, to control your eating, we have, you know, your free foods and your sins and your healthy A's and your healthy B's, and you're meant to load your plate up with your speed foods. I get that. But tell me about weight loss. Tell me about fat loss. Educate me about how the process works and how that is then relatable to Slimming World. And it's really, really simple. Look, the only way we lose body fat is by going into a calorie deficit, is consuming less calories than we burn. And we feel at Slimming World, they don't say this because this isn't part of it. I have been to some Slimming World meetings, by the way. You know, and we feel at Slimming World by giving you free foods, right, which is, you know, foods that you can eat as much as you want of, but they're not actually that palatable on their own, so we feel you're not going to overeat them. It gives you a bit more food freedom by using the sin sort of mentality, synergy, which binds everything together. Makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Just be honest and say we call it a sin because those foods are bad for you, even though they're not. Hence the unhealthy relationship with food. You know, we feel that that really helps to control the calorie dense foods. Your speed foods, obviously increase volume of your eating, also great for health because it's a lot of fruits and veggies. Your healthy A's, your healthy B's are foods that might be a bit calorific, but they are healthy and we should be including them, like milk and maybe some wholemeal bread, blah, blah, blah. And we feel that if you put all that together in a package, it's going to help you consume less calories than you burn. Hence, you're going to go into a calorie deficit and you're going to lose some body fat. That's how it works. Babs at Slimming World isn't going to tell you that because she doesn't understand. There's no education. And that's not really Babs's fault. That's the fault of Slimming World. But Slimming World don't want people to be educated on how weight loss actually works because they want you to feel that it's the regime of Slimming World. Anyway. So there's no education. So yeah, Slimming World's the most popular weight loss method in the UK. And there's actually no education about how weight loss works. And if there was education, you know, again, how the scales work. And it's something I pride myself on. It's something I've been very sort of focused on from the start of doing The Real Lost Boss and any content. And if you scan through some of my social media back to the early days, certainly on YouTube, there's some old school vids. If you go back to when I first started doing The Real Lost Boss, pre-COVID, I sort of dabbled into it and then obviously put a lot more effort into it in COVID when I was sat on my bottom doing nothing because everywhere was shut down. But yeah, my philosophies have never changed and I've always been very, very conscious. I always get told off for using the wrong word. Of educating people because I feel if you understand why you're doing something, it makes it a lot easier to justify and digest in your mind why you're doing something. And I think that promotes longevity. Can't talk today. What's going on? Anyway, yeah, there's just a massive lack of education of how weight loss actually works. And you see that nowadays with social media. You flick through TikTok and there's loads of different influencers on TikTok you know, promoting all these crazy, weird and wonderful fad diets. And they try and make you believe that it's the weird and wonderful fad diet that creates this amazing weight loss or fat loss in your body. When the honest truth is, another common trend of fad diets is the only way we lose body fat is by consuming less energy, you know, than we burn. Input, output, energy balance, calories in versus calories out. That is the honest truth. And, you know, if you're promoting the carnivore diet where you're just eating meat, seafood, eggs and cheese, you know, at least tell people, look, protein is extremely satiating, and protein and fats without carbohydrates are actually not that appetizing. So if you go to the carnivore diet and you cut carbs out, it's really going to limit the amount of calories you consume. Don't get me wrong, you might be eating a lot of saturated fats, you're eating a lot of red meats, you're eating a lot of, meats that are linked with, increasing the risk of cancer and stuff like that, but you're not actually going to eat ridiculous amounts of these products. I'm not saying it's healthy, because it really, really isn't. And there's no long-term studies on the carnivore diet. And when there are long-term studies on the carnivore diet, people are going to realise how unhealthy it actually is. But, the reason why people lose body fat on it is because overall they consume less calories than they burn, like any fad diet. So, massive lack of education. And because of that, people are always shooting in the dark. And that's something I always promote when it comes to tracking calories. Whatever's going on, right? If you're making the commitment to start tracking calories, and tracking calories basically cuts out the middleman. It cuts out any questions. It cuts out any second guessing. None of this. Have I lost weight this week? You know whether you've lost body fat by what your calorie intake is. And one of the worst things you can do when tracking calories is, if you're going to have the odd day where, you consume a lot more calories than you're meant to, or, you start consuming a lot more unhealthy foods, the common trend is then to go, oh, I'm not going to track calories. I'm not going to, I don't want to see the damage I'm doing, as it were. And it's one of the worst things you can do, because you need complete days, complete weeks of data. I had this last night, and again, really, really negative. But hopefully, after me dissecting it and going through it, I was doing a TikTok live yesterday, and one of my followers on TikTok came on. They're not in my community, they're not on plan with me, they just follow me on social media, and they basically commented, I've overeaten today and ruined my week. And I was literally like, what? It's a flipping Tuesday. I'm recording this on a Wednesday, by the way. It's a flipping Tuesday. You're 2 days into the week. You can't ruin a weight loss week in 2 days. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're like I was a couple of weeks ago on an all-inclusive holiday, you may have consumed a good amount of calories Monday, Tuesday, but when I'm on an all-inclusive holiday, weight loss priorities have been shuffled right to the back of the pack for a week. I am not bothered about weight loss whatsoever. But again, this negative mindset. I ruined my weight loss week by Tuesday. And I was like, right, tell me about it. So how many calories a day do you eat? 1,800 calories a day. So how many calories a day do you burn? They couldn't tell me that. If you are currently counting or tracking calories and you do not know how many calories you burn in a day, in a week, there's a very good chance your calorie allowance is wrong. And again, you're shooting in the dark. And we don't want to do that. We've got to stop all this shooting in the dark nonsense, not understanding. Answer your own questions, answer your own anxieties, your own fears about weight loss. Again, this is going to improve your negativity. We'll go into that a bit further down. But anyway, this person was eating 1,800 calories a day to lose weight. So I just assumed that they were in a they got their allowance from an online calorie calculator, which is only ever going to give you a rough ballpark figure. It's never going to be your actual allowance. So 1,800 calories probably isn't their actual allowance, but just for ease, I assumed that this online calorie calculator they used was healthy, it was sustainable, it was not putting them into too strict a deficit. So I said, right, you burn 2,300 calories a day if your calories are 1,800 a day for fat loss. That means you burn 16,000 calories over a week. Unless you consume more than 16,000 calories in a week, you have ruined nothing, because 16,000 calories is your calorie maintenance. And if you eat your calorie maintenance, you might not lose body fat. I get that. But you ain't going to gain any body fat. And that is so important. Again, stay positive. You're eating 1,800 calories a day. How many did you eat on Monday? 1,500. Right? How many have you eaten today? 1,500. Plus, I've had 600 calories worth of chocolate. This person had literally consumed 600 calories worth of chocolate, which is basically 2 chocolate bars. And they thought they'd ruined their entire weight loss week. When the reality is, you burn 2,200 calories on average. You ate 1,500 on Monday, 1,500 on Tuesday, plus 600 calories worth of chocolate. So you've eaten your calories. 1,800 Monday, 1,800 Tuesday. The only thing you've not done Monday, Tuesday is bank any calories for the weekend. How have you ruined your weight loss week? But again, we're so wrapped up in negativity. There's so much, false information out there, lack of education. And it's literally stems down to this person having a very unhealthy relationship with food. Chocolate makes me fat. If I consume 600 calories of chocolate, it definitely makes me fat. Rather than breaking it down, looking at things. And again, this is the advantage of being in my community, being on my one-to-one plan. This client, not necessarily my community because I don't offer one-to-one, but if they're on one-to-one, they could just message me on the Tuesday, say, "Oh, I've eaten 600 calories worth of chocolate. I feel a bit rubbish about it." And I would have broken it down for them. And straight away within, a period of time of messaging me, they would have gone from having a negative mindset around it to having a positive mindset around it, and they'd have gone and bossed the rest of their weight loss week and lost some body fat. Anyway, I dissected it for them on TikTok, just an example of what I can do. And at the end of it, they were all good. They were happy. They understood that we've not blown the weight loss week. Chocolate is just calories. Calories in, calories out. It doesn't matter what your calories are that you consume. Fat loss is the same. Now, obviously, what your calories are made up of might determine how well you stick to a calorie deficit. If you're just going to eat chocolate all the time, you're going to feel hungry, you're going to feel tired, you're not going to have much, energy, surrounding your body, etc., etc. And that can all help or affect, the way you stick to a calorie deficit. Whereas if you eat healthy, you're going to have more volume, you're going to have more energy, you're going to feel better about yourself, and that can help you stick to a calorie deficit. But anyway, moral of the story is, over time, this client, especially if they were working with me, this follower, will create education. They'll understand how weight loss works, and they'll break it all down. Clients that have been with me 12, 18 months, 2 years, they do their own check-in. Right? They check in with me every 2 weeks. They send me their data, but they justify and break down their check-in as they go. And it warms my heart, if I'm being honest with you, because it just makes me realize how much their mentality has changed. Anyway, right, let's crack on. So, reasons why we're negative. Yes, lack of education, unhealthy relationships with food. And that was the main reason for that follower on TikTok. Trying and failing so many times. All this buries us. Everything is a chip away at our confidence. When we're used to sinning food and we go over our sins, it kills our confidence. That adds to our negativity. Every time we eat something that we feel makes us fat, irrelevant of energy intake or energy balance, it destroys adds to our negativity. Every time the scales don't do what we want them to do, it adds to our negativity. Again, lack of education. Healthy, sustainable weight loss is £1 a week on average. I'm very open and honest. You're not going to see £1 loss every single week. There's lots of things that fluctuate the scales. It's about what we do over time. And, you might have done a juice diet, 600 calories a day. You might have done it for a month. And in a month, if you can stick to 600 calories a day of anything, even if you're eating proper foods, even if you're sort of having, for breakfast, 200 calories for breakfast, 200 calories for lunch, 200 calories for tea, and it's, your 200 calories for lunch might be, one slice of toast and one egg on it. That's less than 200 calories, and that's your dinner. You're eating whole foods, you're eating proper foods, but you're eating such a low amount. You are going to lose a stupid amount of weight. Why? Because you're going to be in an extremely large calorie deficit, and you're going to lose a lot of water retention from the lack of what you're eating. You're also going to lose your average sort of food weight and water weight in your system. Everything's going to go down. For example, I burn about 3,400 calories a day, which means over a month, I'm knocking on not a million miles away from 100,000 calories. If I eat 600 calories a day for a month, let me get the maths right here. I'm going to be consuming around about 20,000. Now I'm going to be in an 80,000 calorie deficit. £1 of body fat is 3,500 calories. So if I eat 600 calories a day, I'm probably going to lose 20 pounds of body fat in a month. Now, I'm going to be malnourished. I'm going to be tired. The chances of me sticking to 600 calories a day for a month is very slim to none. But if I did do it, I'd probably lose 20 pounds of body fat. On top of that, I'd probably lose 6, 7, 8, maybe even a little bit more of water retention. So I could lose a couple of stone in a month. it's a false negative for me, because it certainly wouldn't be worth the punishment I'm putting my body through to get those results, but that is the reality of it. But people think that is how weight loss should be. So many people feel that they should be losing 2-3 pounds a week. So when they start losing weight healthily, sustainably, or their weight loss starts to slow down, because like I've just said there, you know, when you start a weight loss journey, you get what's called the whoosh effect. And the whoosh effect is maybe a little bit of your average food weight is coming down that sits in your system. Food weight is kind of food that goes from your mouth to your bottom. And in between that, you've got an average amount of food in your stomach, food in your small intestines, food in your large intestine, food in your bowel. And if your eating is pretty regular, you know, you might have a few more calories at the weekend, so that might bump up. But generally, your food weight is kind of an average. If you massively reduce your calories or your food intake down, the average food weight that's constantly sat in your system, whether it's, you know, being digested, whether it is digested, you know, whether it's sat as total waste products in your bowel ready to come out into the toilet, will reduce. Same with water weight, same with water retention. So, and that's kind of what we call the whoosh effect. It all contributes to the scales coming down in the first couple of weeks. I have covered that before. So anyway, we have this massive lack of, you know, basically a whole package that makes us, you know, negative around weight loss. So what do we do? What do we do? How do we start being positive? The glass is half full, it isn't half empty. How do we get this mentality? And like I say, it's one of the biggest things I did from the start of my weight loss journey was start seeing things in a better light. And trust me, it has massively helped me. So at the start of my weight loss journey, I decided I wanted to lose weight in a totally different way. Everything I'd tried before in the past was off the table. And if I thought I was doing something, or I was doing something where I'd tried it in the past, I'd be like, no, you need to change this. And this is where I came about with looking at calories. It's something I'd never really looked at before. It's where, you know, while losing weight, I decided to have a takeaway once or twice a week. You know, I'd always gone cold turkey on the old takeaways, and I was like, no, it's never worked in the past. Why is it going to work this time? So instead of, you know, let's have a little bit of compromise. Let's meet ourselves in the middle. You know, if I classed a takeaway as, you know, a butty van, a sandwich shop, fast food like McDonald's, KFC, having a chippy dinner, and then getting a full-blown takeaway at night, you know, like a pizza or a Chinese, I was probably having 10, 12 of those a week. If I'm being honest with you, I would, yeah, 1 or 2 a day. You know, if I was working, it'd be a butty shop. You know, I might make my tea at night time. Sometimes I'd have McDonald's breakfast, then a butty shop for lunch. And then, you know, I might get a kebab for my tea. So I was probably having 10, 12 a week. And, you know, that's a lot of calories, because can we eat out healthier? Can we get takeaways out? Of course we can. But at the time, I never did. And I just trimmed that down to twice a week. You know, I used to have a chippy tea with my mum on a Wednesday night, and a Chinese, actually again with my mum, on a Sunday night. And when I say a chippy tea and a Chinese, my chippy tea was a lightly battered fish and peas, and my Chinese was a main course and rice. That was it. So when people think of Chinese, they think of about 20 different dishes. I kind of do now, to be honest with you. Again, when people think of a chippy tea, they think of, you know, maybe, you know, battered jumbo sausage, chips, gravy, barm cake. I didn't. I was a lot more responsible with my calories. But I went from having 10, 12 weeks, having 2 weeks. It was enough. It stopped me feeling overly restricted. It stopped me thinking I was missing out, but I wasn't consuming stupid amounts of calories from having takeaways. So it was a change. Same with looking at calories. You know, I'd never tried to move more on my weight loss journey. I always did it through diet, just over restriction of what I was eating. Whereas, you know, at the start of my weight loss journey, I started moving more. Started doing some regular exercise. There was a few of the bits and pieces I did, you know, started eating more protein. I started eating more protein because I thought I was a gym bro. I started going to the gym and lifting a few weights. And I was like, people that go to the gym drink protein shakes. At the time when I was doing it, I didn't really understand why I was having a protein shake in a way, though a friend of mine that was someone that went to the gym, great physique, trained all the time, trained from being a kid, very consistent. They did tell me, and they didn't educate me why, but they did say, if you want to lose body fat, you need to eat a lot of protein. I don't think they actually understood why, if I'm being totally honest with you. And he was like, I eat 400 grams of protein a day. And I was like, what? When I started looking at it, I was like, but he was a bodybuilder who was well into building a physique, and he'd have 4 or 5 protein shakes a day and so on and so forth. But anyway, so I started putting all this together. The reality of this was, when I started doing things totally differently, it kind of erased the past. And that's what you need to do. You need to start off with a blank disc, a blank cassette tape. For anyone listening or watching this that's old enough to remember, VHS back in the day, you need to start off with a brand new cassette, take it out of the film, stick it in your VHS recorder. Anyone that's probably under 30 or certainly under 25 watches this, like, what's a VHS? Do you mean a DVD player? No, VHS. I suppose in this day and age, you need to, make some space on your phone or your Sky Q box. You need to go into management and delete all your recorded shows and stuff. I don't know where I'm going with this. But yeah, you need to start off with a blank disc, a blank sheet of paper, however you want to look at it. And that's what I did. Again, I didn't really know I was doing that, but because I sort of eradicated every previous weight loss method I'd done, and I'd tried keto, I'd tried fasting, I'd tried going to extremes, I'd tried Slimming World, I'd tried Weight Watchers, I'd done Slim Fast shakes, I'd done lots of weird and wonderful, crazy fad diets. And I just, anything I'd tried before, I didn't do this time. And yeah, it started me off with a blank canvas. And that is how you need to start off on your weight loss journey. It is easier said than done. And to be honest with you, that blank canvas, you can only go so far with it, because it does take time to create a healthy relationship with food. It takes time to create a healthy relationship with weight loss. Yeah, it really, really does. But you've got to do the best you can. All the nonsense that we get educated on in the past, we have to, we have to put it to the back of our mind, and we've got to start off fresh. Fresh start, right? So all this sin food, all this, that, and the other, it needs to go. It needs to go, all that garbage. Like I say, it does take time, but you need to do the best you can. And that's what I did by starting off with this new approach. And now really, my approach, the one I coach now, it's just life to me. And so many other influencers have the same philosophies as I do, though I do have my own spin on it, which is my own USP. But, a lot of influencers talk about calories in, calories out, having balance, eating in moderation, not over restricting, getting your steps in, this, that, and the other. I'm not saying, my whole philosophies are unique, but they were years ago. They really, really were. And again, the way I look at things, I think is still quite unique. Anyway, blank canvas. That is the start of changing this mindset. Another change I made was, you need to surround yourself with like-minded people. I erased a lot of negativity out of my life, or I erased a lot of things that had a negative influence on my life. So, for instance, work. I worked in sales for years and years and years, and I felt trapped in sales. I hated it. I didn't like it. Now, I did it because it was the only, it was the only job I felt I could do at the size I was. But sales was horrible, especially the sales I was doing. I don't mean it was bent or dodgy, but it was very pressured. It was could be very hit and miss, and days where you didn't, not days, but weeks where you didn't do good. It was very demoralizing. Weeks where you did good, it was one of the best jobs in the world. But I might have, I was pretty decent at sales, but you might have 5 good weeks, 6 weeks in a row, which is great. The one bad week destroys the 6 good weeks. Anyway, for me, it was very mentally taxing, and I hated it. And I stepped away from it. I stepped away from it, and I went in a totally different direction when it came to a career. It was daunting. It was challenging. It was scary, fear of the unknown, but I put myself in a much more positive environment. And you spend, 30, 40, 50 hours a week working. You spend a massive amount of your week at work. So to spend a massive chunk of your week wrapped up in negativity is tough. It really, really is. It's tough. So I stepped into a more positive environment, and yeah, it really, really helped me. And again, I'm not saying this is a quick fix, and I'm not saying it's your job that is negative. You might absolutely love your job, but it was something for me that was very, very negative. Likewise, the way I live my lifestyle revolved around the pub. All my friends were around the pub. Now, I'm still friends with a lot of the people that I was friends with when my life evolved around the pub, but I hardly see them. Why? Because my life doesn't evolve around going to the pub anymore. And for a lot of my friends, it still does. So I see them sporadically. I see them every now and then. I've not fallen out with them. But the pub for me was a very negative environment. It was a very negative environment being around a lot of drunk people. I didn't just go to the pub socially for a couple of beers. I went to the pub because I used alcohol as well as food as a coping mechanism. It was very draining on the bank account. It was very draining on my mental health. And it wasn't good for me. Now, I didn't go cold turkey with not going to the pub, just like takeaways. I used to go to the pub still every Friday night, and I'd have 3 or 4 pints. That was it. I used to go in about 8 p.m, 3 or 4 pints. Last bus home was about 10, quarter past 10. 4 pints normally. Chose the weakest lager that was on offer, which was actually the lowest calorie on offer, which was Coors Light. 4 pints, bus home. And again, no beer fear the next day, no big hangovers, no coming down off other things, because I'll be quite honest with you, it wasn't just alcohol that I used to do in the pubs as well. And it massively, massively changed my mentality from a negative one to a more positive one. And I started going to a gym. I started exercising on a regular basis. And going to a gym to me, I remember talking to the gym I was going to. I won a Member of the Year the first year. It's actually on the wall behind me. I'm very proud of that achievement because it was the first time I was recognised for doing what I was doing. Don't get me wrong, I'm very, very modest in terms of my weight loss because I put myself in the position to be 37 stone. But when people give you compliments and recognise what you're achieving, it helps. Again, adds to that positivity. But when I won that Member of the Year, I remember talking to the membership manager, Ellen, at the time, and she was saying to me, you've embraced the gym, you come 4 days a week, you're a regular here now, you're a character around the gym, people recognise you. And I said I made it my new local. And she loved it. I'm not sure if they didn't use it in some sort of advertising campaign for the January or something like that. She went, what do you mean? I said, I've made it my new local. I said, my life used to revolve around going to the pub and drinking. Now my life kind of revolves around going to the gym. Because, one of the reasons I only had 3 pints, 4 pints on a Friday night was I used to go to the gym on a Saturday morning. And no one wants to go to a gym hungover. So it made me go on because I wanted to go to the gym. And I loved going to the gym. I didn't just go to the gym to work out. I did embrace myself in the environment of the gym. I made friends there. I got friends with personal trainers there. I got friends with other members there. I got friends with members of staff there. And it did become my new local. It became the place that I spent a lot of my time. And people in a gym are positive people, or maybe they might not be overall positive people, but people go to a gym to improve themselves. People go to the gym for lots of different reasons, but at the time I was like, everyone in here is trying to improve themselves, trying to get fitter, they're trying to get healthier, they're trying to lose some weight, and I love that. So surround yourself with like-minded people. Again, that's another big advantage of being in my community. You're surrounded by over 400 people, all on the same path, all with the same philosophies when it comes to weight loss. It's something I do give a bit of kudos to Slimming World for. I do like the community aspect of it, which is what I've tried to create with the Real Lost Boss. But I surrounded myself with like-minded people, environments that were good for me, good for my mental health, good for my physical health. rather than environments that were negative to me. Going to the pub every Friday night and having 4 pints was not negative in any way, shape, or form. Again, this is talking about moderation. Likewise, having 2 takeaways a week was not a negative thing for me. It all fitted in with my calories and it all worked within what I was trying to create. And being in a more positive work environment, spending more time in a more positive social environment, because that's what I felt the gym was. It was a social thing, as well as, going and working out, just massively, massively helped me. And last but not least, something I did was I don't know how to put this across really. I just put the effort in. I just decided, it was just a switch that went on in my head. I'd lived my life existing, not living. I lived my life in this negative state of mind. I was always, especially from social media, being the way I was always very jealous of people, jealous of the jobs they had, the careers they had, the houses they had, the holidays they were going on, the clothes they were wearing. I never showed this when I was out and about, but inside it broke me. I was also very angry. I was a very angry person inside. Again, no one would ever know this if they saw me out and about or people that have known me. But inside, I was always the why me? Why am I the unlucky one? I was always a very down and out person. And part of changing from a negative attitude to was just me, was just going, stop it, Neil. And now I am one of the most positive people I know in a way. I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet. I always try and be as positive as I can. And I know in some ways it winds people up, but it's not a bad thing. Trying to see the best out of people, I'm always fully aware. Sometimes I play devil's advocate. Obviously, in certain situations, you can't see the positive in things. I'm not saying I do it in that, but, if someone's whinging about someone or complaining about someone, I always sit there and rationalize it in my head. I hate negativity. I hate it. I can't stand it. It's dragged me down for years and years and years. So when people are being negative around me, I try and put a positive spin on it. It's just who I've become over the last 10 years. And I know some people might just want a whinge or a moan and it makes them feel better, but it's just not who I am. So I always try and play devil's advocate. I always try and see the best of people. When I see people going on holiday, yeah, I'm jealous, but I'm jealous for the right reasons. I'm envious. And I always talk about jealousy and envy and this and the other. It can be a very negative emotion. If you use it in the right way, it can be a positive emotion as well, because I love going on holiday. And, when people go on holiday, oh, did you have a nice holiday? Was it good? Tell me all about it. I want to get wrapped up in it because I know I vibe off their positivity, off their energy. Yeah, it was amazing. The weather was great. The beer was cheap. The weather was great. The food was really good. We had a lovely time. It was nice and chilled. I love that. I love hearing it. And it makes me want to then, work harder, strive harder so I can afford my next holiday. Because it's something I enjoy. Likewise, when I see people posting a new car or a new house on social media, years ago, I used to get wrapped up, like I say, oh, God, and I'm not saying a picture is a story. It really, really isn't. And there might be a lot of background to it. And people generally, just because they've got a new car doesn't mean they're happy. But I'll never be one of them people anymore that's, oh, look at them with the new car. Oh, look at them with the new house. Oh, no. It's just not a good place to be. And if you're like that at the moment, work on changing it, because it will just make your life so much better. I'm sat here now recording this podcast. The weather's been beautiful for a few days. And I'm not saying I'm always positive. Certain things drag you down a little bit. But I'm sat here now. The weather's been beautiful for a few days and it's raining. And in my head, I'm like, oh, well, it's good for the farmers because it's been dead dry. So a bit of water on the land. It'll be nice for walking the dogs because it's a bit cooler. And yeah, they're going to get a bit muddy, but it just is what it is. And it'll be a bit nicer tonight sleeping because it's not as warm. Right? Don't get wrong. Would I love it to still be sunny? Yeah, but the fact it's not, it just isn't. And I'm trying to, think of positives for it being a bit drizzly and a bit overcast and a bit miserable today. The way I've changed my mindset from being negative to being positive will not be exactly the way you need to change your mindset. But I'm hoping me talking about my own experiences of doing it, and then also talking about why you are probably very negative around weight loss and around, you know, your weight loss journey. I'm hoping it kind of triggers a response from you. I hope you can resonate with it a little bit, and some of it is quite relatable, and you can sit there and you've just got to sit there and go, what is dragging me down? Now, in terms of, you know, the journey, fat loss, weight loss, trying to lose weight, the approach, as it were, the method that you're going to use to lose weight, just, you know, work on educating yourself. Like I said before, surround yourself by positive influences when it comes to weight loss. You know, there's a lot of red flags out there. I'll do another podcast on red flags when it comes to, you know, people you should follow when it comes to, you know, trying to have a successful weight loss journey. But, you know, yeah, follow positive people, block negative people. Dead easy on social media, block. Anyone that comes on standing in a supermarket overly demonizing food without any context, without any sort of, you know, balance, bit of education. Yeah, this is really unhealthy if you're going to consume it every day. If you enjoy a bowl of Cocoa Pops and you have it once a week and the rest of your breakfasts are healthy and nutritious, no issues whatsoever. That's the way the education should be, right? And if it's not like that, if it's all very propaganda, all very one-sided, you probably want to block them. So in terms of the actual approach, which is the method you're going to use, the method is Slimming World, it's Weight Watchers, it's coming on plan with the Real Lost Boss, or it's just listening to me and trying to put things into place. Yeah, just educate yourself, learn, change that lifestyle, look back at things that you've done in the past that haven't led to successful weight loss and make sure you are doing things a little bit different. I'm not a medical marvel. I'm not an anomaly, right? In terms of having weight loss success, I might be up there as a minority, but that's what I'm trying to change. I want the majority of people to have a weight loss success, and that can happen. What I'm trying to say is when I say I'm not a medical marvel, I'm not an anomaly, I've done nothing special. I've just consistently put myself into a calorie deficit for a period of time, and that's how I've lost my weight. If you do the same, you will lose your weight. So, approach, education, understand weight loss, learn. That's going to change your relationship with food, your relationship with weight loss into a more positive one. You'll start to understand about why the scales are doing what they're doing, why you're getting the results you're getting. And yeah, it's just going to be a much nicer environment. In terms of other things that might be dragging you down mentally, so, you know, it's breeding negativity in your mindset, you need to kind of analyze. I always say this, you can't fix a problem unless you recognize you've got one. What is dragging you down at the moment? What is putting you in this negative state of mind? You know, is it work? Is it your relationship? Is it where you're living? I'm not saying these are all massive quick fixes. They're not. But they are things that you can work on. You know, I left my job in sales and went into accountancy, which I'd done for a lot of years, but not had any qualifications in it. But I ended up then going into running a company. It was very, very stressful, but I enjoyed it. I then stepped out of that at like 37, 38 years of age. So it's never too late, and became a personal trainer. I then stepped out of that at 41 years of age and became an online weight loss coach. And now I feel I'm the happiest I've ever been when it comes to work. I love recording these podcasts. I love, you know, doing the social media lives. I love working with all my online clients. So it's never too late. But to get to the stage I'm at now, it has taken, you know, 10 years. But things improve. Never look at the end goal. All the way through, from going from sales to accountancy was better. Going from accountancy to personal training was better. Going from personal training to online coaching was better. I've just improved all the way along. So you need to have a look and you need to see what's dragging you down. And remember, you know, I've talked about this before, emotional eating. Negativity breeds emotional eating. It will breed self-sabotage on your weight loss journey. And it's very rarely going to lead to successful weight loss. So, as I've said once before in this podcast, the glass is half full. It is not half empty. And part of a successful weight loss journey is not just changing the amount of food that's on your plate, being more responsible with your calories, getting a few extra steps in. You need to change your mindset from positivity to negativity. Always choose positivity. Yeah, not negativity. Right, that's it for episode 31. Thank you very much. If you want to work with me, like I've already said in this podcast, I will put all the details in the description. It would be great to get you on board, even if you just join my community, which is cheap as chips to do. It's always nice. The bigger the community, the more help there is for everyone, and the more help there's going to be for you if you come and join in. And until the next podcast, make sure, as always, you boss your weight loss.